Tiny homes are becoming a hot topic, and it's one solution that some homeowners are finding in order to make it affordable to live here in Victoria.
I've always loved them, and I eventually wanted to be in one. But last year I started thinking about retiring and wondering if I'd ever be able to afford to stay in Victoria when I did. So I started looking into it seriously at that point and decided that it was the way to go. Main floor is about 240 square feet, and then I have about another 90 to 100 square feet of loft space.
Our houses are often built from materials from all over the world. They're loaded with chemicals, and they don't even do a good job at being what they're supposed to be about. So quickly I started looking for alternative houses to live in. Tiny house really appealed to me, being able to afford really efficient materials and not get into massive debt.
I have a golden retriever, and part of my design of my house was to be able to throw the tennis ball down the middle of it so that she can get to a full run in here.
I'm 6'4". We designed the house around my height, so I've got 6'6" underneath the lofts in the kitchen and the bathroom, and I can sit up in bed and my head isn't touching the roof. So you can definitely learn to maximize every little space here and there, and that becomes part of the fun and the challenge.
I knew I wanted a full-size couch. I basically planned it around the rooms that I spend the most time in were the rooms that I wanted to be the biggest. So my bathroom, for example, is tiny. My kitchen is small. The rest of the house I don't consider tiny at all. It's just right.
So there's a few decisions you can make to make the space feel bigger. Putting windows on multiple sides of the house will make it immediately feel much larger. Leaving open cabinetry or finding other storage solutions will leave it much more open. And then you can also push the boundaries. In Alberta and BC, we're pretty lenient on road rules. So you can get a house that's 10 feet, 6 inches wide, and you don't need a pilot truck. So that allows you right away to get that extra foot, 2 feet inside, which makes a world of difference. So you're not bumping hips with your significant other or feeling claustrophobic.
So I have a storage bench that is great for when company's visiting, for extra seating, and holds quite a lot in there. Because I went for a somewhat larger tiny house, mine is 28 feet, I didn't have to do lots of things that needed to be multi-purpose.
I call her the unlikely rebel because she's the one that started the advocacy group, and she's the one who's just charged ahead. The biggest challenge is right now it's not legal to live in a tiny home, so you take your chances if you want to build a tiny home.
There's a lot of demand for it, and municipalities are going, well, how do we meet our people's demand that want to have these kinds of homes? So they're starting to build tiny homes to manufactured home standards, RV standards, or park model home standards. Those all have to be usually manufactured by a professional company. But you could do a DIY RV if you have an existing trailer frame to work off of. So a lot of these houses are built on a metal frame, which then you would block up and level, so you can get to having everything level inside the house. However, if you want a permanent foundation, you can actually put in screw piles and actually even weld on connections, so you are set in permanently and can deal with any frost heaving and movement.
The only reason that mine is on wheels is I wasn't willing to spend $50,000 to $100,000 on something that was going to be put on somebody else's property when they could turn around and sell it, the following week.
Some people will build it to be debt-free or to have a very affordable house. Others may build it, such as myself. I built mine to be completely off-grid and to be very efficient. So we put a lot of money into the building materials to make sure it's doing a really good job. Triple glazed windows, good insulation, all that jazz.
I do have a composting toilet. That's the only off-grid option that I have, so that I don't need to be hooked up to a septic tank.
Builders really need to make sure they follow up with having the correct building codes. So whether they fit within as an RV or a manufactured home, those are the two primary ways. They need a factory setting and get a specific CSA code to be legal for producing these for others. A lot of people will also be using them as rental suites.
We all pay taxes, and I think that it's time to make changes. We're in a housing crisis in BC, and especially on the island and the West Coast in general, and I think that it's a greener way to live, and I think that a smaller footprint is also what is needed right now.
The two biggest demographics, there's the young adults who are kind of looking at the housing market, looking at the costs and going, I don't know if I want in on that. And the second, an elderly population that's looking to retirement and what kind of lifestyle they want to lead. And a lot of people will say minimalism, we don't need so much stuff. Why have this big space that I have to pay to heat, fill with stuff, and work so hard to pay off?
It is affordable in the short term. I will be paying it off for the next couple of years. I had some money saved, but not all of it. but it will be paid off within 2 years, and then I'll just be paying a small land rental. So I will be able to retire and stay in Victoria, which was my ultimate goal of going tiny.
I thought I would walk myself into a home that was small and cramped and perhaps even feel a little claustrophobic. This was nothing of the sort. Tiny homes are beautiful and they're for people with big hearts. For Community Producers, I'm Kathleen Burton.